Factors affecting perception. Perceptual set refers to the tendency for our perception to be influenced by our expectations, past experiences, and context. In other words, our perception is not simply a reflection of the objective features of the stimuli in our environment, but is also shaped by our beliefs, attitudes, and cultural background. One factor that can affect perceptual set is culture. Different cultures have different perceptual experiences and expectations, which can lead to differences in the way that people perceive and interpret the same stimuli. For example, people from Western cultures tend to focus more on individual objects and their attributes, while people from Eastern cultures tend to focus more on the context and relationships between objects. Motivation can also influence perceptual set. When we are motivated to perceive something in a particular way, such as when we are looking for a specific object in a cluttered environment, we may be more likely to attend to and interpret stimuli in a way that is consistent with our goal. Motion can also affect our perception. When objects are in motion, we may perceive them differently than when they are static. For example, the motion of a spinning object can create an illusion of shape or movement that is not actually present in the object itself. Expectation is another important factor that can affect our perception. When we have a strong expectation about what we are going to see, we may be more likely to perceive stimuli in a way that is consistent with our expectation, even if that perception is not entirely accurate. For example, if we are expecting to see a particular person in a crowd, we may be more likely to perceive a face that resembles that person, even if it is not actually them. Case Study 3. The Gilchrist and Nesberg study of motivation examined how motivation can influence perceptual set. Gilchrist and Nesberg's study investigated the effect of hunger on how we perceive situations. The aim. Gilchrist and Nesberg in 1952 aimed to find out what effect food deprivation would have on the perception of food-related pictures. Do the pictures of food appear brighter when participants are hungry? The method. The experimental group consisted of 26 undergraduate volunteers who volunteered to go without food for 20 hours. There was also a control group who were not deprived of food for 20 hours, they just ate their normal diet. They were randomly assigned to the conditions. The participants were shown 4 slides of a meal, including a T-bone steak, spaghetti, hamburgers, and chicken. Participants were told it was an exercise in matching pictures. After each slide, the image was turned off and then turned on again. This time, it was dimmer. They were then asked to adjust the lighting knob so the picture looked the same as before. The researchers were interested in whether those which were the food deprived adjusted the pictures more than those that were not food deprived. The results. They found that those that were food deprived did adjust the pictures more than those that had eaten normally for 20 hours. Gilchrist and Nesberg could conclude that hunger is a motivating factor that affects perception. Being deprived of basic needs produces a magnified sensitivity towards images of food, making them seem brighter and more appealing. The strengths and weaknesses of this research are as follows. One strength is there is support from similar studies. Sanford in 1936 deprived participants of food for varying lengths of time, and found the longer they had gone without food, the more likely they would select ambiguous images and interpret them as food. One of the limitations is that depriving people of food for 20 hours is unethical. Even though they had opted in, they may not have realised how their body may react to the lack of food, or may have wanted to eat but felt pressure to continue with the study. Finally, another limitation is that the task is not like one that is representative of everyday life. This decreases the validity of the study. Case Study 4. The Bruner and Minton study of perceptual set investigated how expectations and past experiences can influence perceptual set. The aim. To investigate how perceptual sets can affect our ability to recognise letters and numbers. The method. The method of the study involved presenting participants with a series of visual stimuli that were designed to be ambiguous, meaning they could be interpreted as either a letter or a number. This was a letter B that was slightly split so it could be interpreted as the number 13. The participants were divided into 2 groups. Group 1 was shown 4 letters, then the test, followed by 4 numbers, then the test, then a mix of letters and numbers, followed by the test. Group 2 had this method counterbalanced so that they started with numbers, then letters, then the mixture. The results. The results showed that participants who were primed with letters were quicker and more accurate at identifying the ambiguous stimuli as letters, while those who were primed with numbers were quicker and more accurate at identifying the stimuli as numbers. For the mixture of letters and numbers, the test results were mixed, as some drew a B and some 13. This study showed that what the participants interpreted the stimulus to be was based on their expectations. The strengths and weaknesses of this research are as follows. The strengths. The study was carefully designed and controlled with a clear aim and methodology that allowed the researchers to investigate the specific research question. The study used a within-subjects design, meaning that each participant experienced both conditions, which helped to control for individual differences, counterbalancing. The study provided clear and consistent results that supported the hypothesis and highlighted the role of perceptual sets in shaping our perception and interpretation of visual information. Weaknesses. The study was conducted on a relatively small sample size, which may limit the generalizability of the results. The study used artificial stimuli, ambiguous figures, letters, and numbers, that may not reflect how we perceive real-world objects and situations, lacking ecological validity. The participants volunteered, so may not be fully representative of the population. The study did not take into account individual differences in cognitive abilities and perceptual biases, which may have influenced the results.